You are going to hear what I have written to Senator John McCain, and I will put that part of the video together with this. But you must hear this. Because of technical issues, I've decided to essentially just go ahead and I'll put something on here, possibly, like a video of pictures while I speak. Maybe the American flag if I can do the editing. But my fellow Americans, this is the morning of April the 7th, 2017. Some of you may be aware of the fact that the Republican Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, has decided to use the nuclear option to effectively force a Supreme Court nominee through with only 51 votes. This is the same Republican Congress and senator that denied the rightful appointment, nominee and appointment of then President Barack Obama. I believe what the Republicans have done in denying former President Obama, his nominee, receiving a fair confirmation hearing, which they did not do. I believe it is unethical and borderline illegal, borderline unconstitutional. But let's make no mistake. First, they denied a highly qualified nominee, Mr. Garland. I believe his name is Merrick Garland. They denied our first African-American president his lawful right to nominate and have appointed a United States Supreme Court jurist or justice. I will not mince words. Is it not coincidental? Let us call it racist. Is it not racist when our very first ever black president has the opportunity to nominate and have confirmed a Supreme Court justice, and the entire Republican Senate denied then President Barack Obama, who has a very high and had a very high approval rating when he left office and still has today. Conversely, President, which I don't like to use that term, President Trump has an approval rating of less than 38%. He happens to be white. Not only is the Republican Congress, they have already heard Neil Gorsuch's confirmation, but they have taken the extreme, unprecedented, and unethical measures of changing the rules in the United States Senate so that they can force onto the Supreme Court, which is a lifetime appointment, they can force him onto the United States Supreme Court. Let me explain. The most ardent Republican, the most lifelong conservative, should be highly upset about this action, even if it is your nominee, your way of thinking, ideologically and religiously. You should be in fear of these actions. And the reason is simple. This has never been done in the history of our nation. But make no mistake, if you or your family ever has a class action lawsuit or somehow, some way is seen before the U.S. Supreme Court, and many of our laws are interpreted or reinterpreted, you may lose your rights. my fellow conservative or my fellow Americans, I am not a conservative. I am an independent. However, every American of every political stripe should be terrified of this action. And let us not lose sight of the fact. The reality is Barack Obama was a black president, and the Republicans in Congress absolutely would deny him 90% of his legislative actions and bills. 90% for 8 years. I'm not saying that every Republican in Congress is prejudiced, but I find it gross and an abomination that his nomination, who was confirmed to a federal court years ago by both parties, they would not give this African-American president even the respect of having his nominee have a confirmation hearing. Forget whether they confirmed him or not, they didn't even entertain him. And I will also remind every American, that now that we have a Caucasian back in office, they are doing everything in their power to rush through this nomination. Mind you, I need you to hear another thing. They are changing historic changes. They have done so. Now, they can essentially fill our Supreme Court with a one-sided ideology and ideological court. That means homosexuals and lesbian and transgender rights will be hurt in an enormous way. People that are hardworking of all political stripes, if you have a case against your corporation, your employer, workman's comp, you're going to possibly and most likely lose if you ever are in the Supreme Court. If you are a woman, lose. And this man, Neil Gorsuch, has been shown to side, most of the time, he sides with the industries and the corporations over you, the American people. And mind you, that affects conservative Americans. That affects all Americans. Now, let us never forget something else. We have a Russian investigation going on right now. We don't even know if the Trump campaign and the Trump cabinet and administration, they may have committed a crime. They may not have legally and legitimately even won the Electoral College. They may yet be found to have done things that is twice as bad as Watergate. That being the case, our federal government, the FBI, is investigating the Russians and the Trump campaign's possible connections. Do we really want to have a Supreme Court justice that is a friend of the accused deciding whether or not they are guilty if this comes before the Supreme Court? Let me put it in layman's terms. That would be like somebody robbing a place, a business, and the police assisting them robbing it, and then the attorneys and the judge assisting them getting away with it. Or to put it in a different way, having Neil Gorsuch appointed when he is friendly to Trump and his actions have proven to be detrimental to you and I, Republican and Democrat, We are essentially, the Republicans and Mitch McConnell are essentially putting the fox right in the chicken coop. Not in the hen house. Lens off, but I'm going to read it. And I want you to hear this. I know it's a long-winded type of thing, but I'm very upset. I don't like having a kangaroo court or putting the fox directly into the mouth. I mean, putting the chicken directly into the fox's mouth. And that is what is about to happen unless you, my fellow Americans, make it stop immediately. So here are the words that I have said to Senator McCain. Senator McCain, as an American, I thank you for your heroic service in our military, as well as having been a good senator who has worked with both parties for the good of our great nation and her people. Senator McCain, you have stood tall and even stood alone when you thought it was the right thing to do. Senator McCain, I am asking you as a fellow American to vote no today on the Supreme Court nominee for these reasons. We have an investigation into what the Russian government and or other actors may have done in our elections, and if then candidate Donald Trump or his campaign has any wrongdoing. That alone should put a stop to any nominee being confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court or federal court, be they liberal, conservative, or moderate. It is bad for America for this to happen. Secondly, allowing only 51 votes to confirm a lifetime appointment to America's highest court will have consequences that adults, children, and generations yet unborn will endure. And now that we have this threshold, we could see a one ideology Supreme Court for the first time in American history. I ask each Republican, Democrat, independent senator not to do this. Our Supreme Court needs members from all political beliefs. It is what keeps our government and corporations, organizations, and indeed our people in balance. It is what makes America great. You have been an American hero so many times before. I ask you stand tall again today, or when this vote is taken, and say no to what might be done. Let us not give absolute power to any one political party or make our highest court another center for partisan politics. Senator McCain, I and America is looking for that hero once more. And I respectfully ask you, sir, to stand tall and say no today. Thank you, Senator John McCain. Albert Torcaso. That was Annette Mendel clapping. You see, my friends, the thing is, this isn't about partisanship. Give me a second. I'm going to come on now for a minute. It has nothing to do with partisanship, my friends, but everything to do with what our country's all about. We can't do this. We must not do this. Whether we are Republican, Democrat, constitutionalist, or libertarian, or Green Party, or independent. To have a one-sided Supreme Court is going to hurt our nation, possibly for a potential 50 to 100 to 250 years. We must not cannot do this. I'm asking you to please call 1-202-224-3121. Ask to speak to Senator Mitch McConnell, Senator John McCain, and every Republican senator that you can think of, and ask all of them to vote no on moving forward with this confirmation. It is dangerous, it is unprecedented, and it is fully un-American. Thank you for your time, and God bless you, and God bless this great nation. 1-202-224-3121.